The medicine man just now showed up, so I'll probably just join you guys for a while.
Okay.
Until things are set up and ready, I'll probably get off the line.
Okay.
This is Marie Keone with Department of Family Services under Division of Social Services joining.
Good morning. This is Delegate Charles Newton. Do we have any other delegates on the line?
Good morning, Shema. This is Delegate Kellen.
Good morning, Yadesha Tsui. I'm going to be in and out. Honorable Otto So is going to be chairing the meeting. I'm on Budget and Finance. We have the Law and Order Committee, I guess, divisions and programs that are going through Budget and Finance today. So just an FYI, I will be on so that we have quorum. But again, Honorable Otto So will be chairing the meeting.
Okay, I appreciate the information, Shema. Thank you.
So now that
Good morning. Good morning, guys. This is Otto. I'm on the phone. Madam Chair is supposed to be on the other line. So
I'll be in and out. I'll be on so that we have quorum. So if you
Delegate James on the line.
See, there you go, Otto. You can go ahead and chair.
Well, Goshila, committee members, this morning.
Another FYI with Sage Memorial Hospital emailed me regarding a ceremony that's happening, that's going to be starting in a bit here. The medicine man just showed up, so I'll be getting off the line shortly here. Just FYI.
Well, we're not going to have quorum, so maybe we can wait until Monday, if that's the case. Because we know we're all busy. Unless if Eugene gets on, that's fine. But
I think we can start now. The medicine man hasn't really set up yet. But
Kogoshi?
again, like I said, just go ahead and start. And when it's starting, then I'll just get off the line.
Kogoshina, calling this meeting to order at 10:05 a.m. With Law and Order, Special Law and Order Committee meeting for September 8th, 2020. Laureen, correction. With that, I'm going to proceed to roll call. Laureen, go ahead, proceed to roll call.
Good morning, members of the Law and Order Committee members. Honorable Eugenia Feldman.
Charles Newton is present from Shiprock, New Mexico.
Honorable Rich James.
Delegate James is present from Ganado.
Honorable Eugene So. Honorable Otto So.
I'm present from Tuba City.
Honorable Edmund Yazi. Honorable Edmund Yazi. Honorable Eugene So. We have 3 members present, Mr. So.
All righty, thank you very much. With that, we're going to go ahead and proceed with the invocation. Maybe Kalen Gay, can you proceed with provide invocation for us this morning? Honorable Kalen Gay.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair. So, do Adosh Land Order Committee, Shima. Adosh Malado. Oshiga, Kudo Sola Tilzi. We thank you, God, Kudo, for today. And we thank you every day for a brand new day. Here, Kudo. Ben not a man hints at Hunzate. It's if you're not esto, couldn't not hold it. It's indeed been he could leader Shandin, I don't have son. A car had the lie, conquer bake, eat like could Shandini the Liska. Aracon, Haishing, Dan Todo, conquer that dog after the Noda. He has son lean, hit air shinkun, if it has armed. But also on another hadith after the Ben Holding Guard. Other committee members, Law and Order Committee, other Bispas on other President's Office, Judicial Branch, Arts, Hoikodo, Benade Nito, Daily Nishi, Benade Nito, other Bayel Tito, Bayeta, based on that, so the Behas on it, that's straight out, Neto hit Ashi Bayel T, Kunkat Arts, Way, on the Ben Holding, Listo, Kodo, Dalishi, Daily Nishi, Kodo Shabada Holia. Whatever could also doesn't lead it after send the Behas seat or Liskodo. It doesn't be Yitashi Beni died at Niltoy Kodoshinjo. Yat a bit happen needs and do yat a hoikodo bait had needs and the bit natural equidon hit and lean it out so a bunny die by Yelti Kodo. Be Equidoskinani could deep in the big guard. Could eat ego it so doesn't lean it out send the Behas seat or Listo Bendashi. But so the do they wishing could do I was cando and that is he can. And I hit it ato other could do a large Ada Hosin be Ada Hosin conquered us for the con hits east that a in that case yet he eating cigar conquered us for a minute on the Ben Holly to this guard. I could eat ego could do committee members other could do daily she died and Danishi. And was later at other local officials, other veterans, other Kodon, the Musson, he shaded at Arts, Sonny, Scribad, Hayad, Dashin, the house. Other Kodo, he came in, he named in, had she around the world, and they cut and dark. So that's all that God Arts Kodo. The Huit Ato, Kodon, his church, and the Huit Aho. He came in, he did El Kodo, Slashi Bajay, Dandazo, Bajay, that's the con. Bear waiting, Leon Kong at Hital Shinko again. Slab the Nagago got it out, Bajay, and hot it, door, Bajay. Has Argo got it out, Kodo. We just ask for your blessing, we just ask for your comfort, we just ask for your arts, Kodo, Kodo, Nijit, Bunch of non slad on this guard. Ben has a door by Yelti Kodo. Junul Khazaro Listo, Kodot, Ego, Kodot, Citizen, Linit, Astus in the Behasito List. Yet Jesus Christ, Bishop, Nashet, Eat Ego, it's a descent list. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you very much, Honorable K. Allen McKay, for your invocation this morning. Do Koshinan brother, do I did isot again. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda is recognizing guests and visiting official. I guess we'll go ahead and go to with that. I guess we'll go ahead and have Mr. K. Allen McKay introduce himself.
Chairman, good morning, Nana. Kudo Shadetch, Hanrahne it an Armstrong key only, the Shajab, and it does a out of this Chine Nationale. So I represent 5 chapters of the Chimney Agency. Lowdown, Tachibu Gap, Salana Cottonwood, Mauslini, and many farms. Kodit Ego Ecuador, and each Associated de Law and Order Committee members of Senegay, Hands, Chicago. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Brother, Lieutenant, any other council delegates on the line?
Hey, no,
Hey, let the record reflect that. Let the Lorraine, let the record reflect that Honorable Eugene So is present. Is at this meeting. It's this official meeting. Shanada, introduce yourself.
numbers and what on I got on the number 425, 436, 63, 16 with a quote on it. They told me that's the number, so I was sitting on that number. Told me there's another people set down there. Today, Region Leader, Council Deputy, 24th. Eugene So, it is a needle, auto in a shuttle right in the middle of chimney. Chimney chicken, and she must send it out to the today's Lord, only that. We are to what need. I mean, 23 need. And Lake is a down. Lay between Steamboat and Salana. In the horse, let's get all Quasical, Westbrook, a cry hall, yeah. It's going to change the Kaya out of east to go all the way to Marjorie Thomas, across 191, across Route 27, Kaya out of 20 the Kaya. All the garments of the Tajay, not only that he said, she's first speaker, Nelson Gorman. It I was for the Hudson. I don't I don't I can't on it as a chair, crouching in the way was started the war. So now after the husband, all the way down, let us see the kid. Arj, city, what should it be? Arj, a city, during the 12 city. Edo, they go west to go. There is a hill where the hospital is, and then there is a mesa. Then the figure not an Arj. The Akia on it, I will tell you how crack. Otherwise, not shocker. So that's my introduction. Further than that, what's on it? That's another. You hear that?
Thank you very much, Honorable Eugene So. The phone number for this conference, I believe, changed about a month ago or so. It would change due to the fact that we were using, I believe, WebEx, and then there was some security issue. It did not change. But the official number that I have always been calling into after that was 928-223-3960. That's the number that's assigned to, I believe, the Law and Order Committee or Laureen. And for her any of her meetings that she does the advisor to. The numbers will always be that of 928 223 3960. For LOC number. Moving on, is there any other officials that's on the line visiting and guests and officials? There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 unknown numbers that I see on here. But our legal counsel on the line, Dana Barbaroff. Then there's Johnson John on the line also. So, with that, we'll go ahead and
Hey, Yat this is Rose Graham with the Navajo Nation Scholarship Office.
Rose
So
Graham.
let you know I'm on the line. Hello, everyone.
Good morning. Oh, good to hear that we have travel departments on the line. Visiting officials and guests.
Good morning, Station Ellis. This is Pearl Yellowman. I'm on the line.
Oh, good morning, Pearl. Shinada, good to hear you. Downtown Tuba City, right under QC Hill there, the aunt's house. So, here you, Pearl.
Morning. Good morning. You might have to drive up to North Tuba.
Uncle Sheila, moving on. Any other program managers on the line for the Navajo Nation?
Hi, good morning. This is Karen with Office of the Controller.
Karen Woods, good morning. Good to hear you. Uncle She?
Good morning.
Good morning, Hayla.
Good morning.
Good morning, tonight.
On behalf
This is Lomardo Azeret, General Services Director.
Good morning, Mr. Division Director. Good to hear you for General Delivery, General Services. Oh, good to hear you.
Good morning. This is Juanita Yazzie on behalf of Nicholas Taylor of Navajo Nation Shopping Centers Incorporated.
Juanita Yazzie. Oh, good morning. Good morning. Navajo Shopping Center. Almost said, Codepeso, oh, Hayo, Kitchen in Navajo Shopping Center, in the Galaxy. Okay. All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vice Chair. So this is Dana Bobroff, Chief Legislative Counsel. On the line with me this morning is our new Senior Tribal Court Advocate, Troy Cook. So he's joining us today.
Good morning. Good morning, Dana. Good to hear you. And then Mr. Cook, good morning. Welcome to the legislative branch.
Good to be here.
Uncle Sheila.
Good morning. This is Marie Keone, representing Regina Yazzie with Department of Family Services, Social Services.
Keone. Keone or Keomi?
Keone.
Okay. All right, that Keomi. No question. Moving forth on the agenda, I think visitors and people listening on the agenda or to this call. Good morning again, and you're here at this Law and Order Committee meeting. So this morning, and I'm going to go proceed to number 3 on the agenda, reviewing and adopting the agenda. With that, Laureen, go ahead and read the agenda into the record. Ashwati, do you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Maureen, go ahead and proceed with reading the agenda into the record.
Yeah, okay. It won't.
I think you might be on mute. I think it's star. You have to press that, Maureen.
It should go away, right? That cross?
It's unmute.
Oh, okay.
Sherelle, are you on the line? Law and Order recorder, who's on the line?
Going on to number 7, Exhibit 7 is the nomination CARES funds and the Education Technology Expenditure Plan. Going to number 8 is also a document relating to, it's in Exhibit 8, which is the CARES Act fund. It's in the budget form. And also Exhibit 9 is the Nomination CARES Fund, Elderly and Developmental Disability Hardship Assistance Expenditure Plan. Going on to 10, Exhibit 10 is the Native Renewables, Electricity and Refrigeration for Navajo Families. And then going on to Exhibit 11, 11, 12. Exhibit 12 is the Nomination CARES Fund, First Responder and Vehicle Internet Connectivity Expenditure Plan. 13 is Exhibit 13, Nomination CARES Fund, Housing Improvement Expenditure Plan. Going to number 14 is also a Nomination CARES Fund, Solid Waste Expenditure Plan. Going to number 15 is a letter or a memorandum to the 24th Nomination Legislative Council from Pearline Kurt, dated July 27, 2020, in regards to OOC Budget CARES Administrative Funding Request. And then also Exhibit 16 is Nomination Expenditure Plan for CARES Act Fund for Office Management and Budget. And all these budgets are attached. Going on to Exhibit 17 is a Nomination CARES Fund Electronic Case Management Telework Expenditure Plan. And then that ends the exhibits there, and then we'll go to the nomination Internet Public Review Summary. And this was posted on August 21st, 2020, and it ended on August 26th, 2020. And there are comments supporting. There are 36 documents that are supporting and 1 opposing. And then there's 5 that are inclusive. These are all attached at the end of the legislation. And so all those comments are attached at the end. Mr. So, Chair Pro Tem. That concludes the reading. Mr. So. Hello.
We can hear you.
I was on mute, so, alrighty, Laureen, thank you for reading the legislation into the record. And, with that, I guess, what I would request is that all the, parties that have their, proposals in this particular legislation to send their proposals to Laureen, to the, that way she can disseminate them to the Law and Order Committee members, so that we could continue to read your proposals at leisure, so that by the time it gets to Nabkiyat Committee, the committee members of Law and Order will have all information. That's all I would request, is that all documents pertaining to your programs that are requested for funding, send their proposal to the or their documents to Laureen, and Laureen can send those documents out to us. Not too long ago, we got Christopher Becente's information. So that's really good, so that we can read those on our leisure before Nabi, so that we can we understand what's entail inside your proposals. So it in hinge kit. With that, I'm going to go ahead and call for a motion. Motion by Honorable Eugene So, from Honorable Delegate from Chinle. And then with that, I'm going to call for a seconding motion.
Second, Delegate James.
Second made by Honorable Vince James. And with that, Kiala McGay, the normal, you came before committees before and understand the formality of the timelines of the committees. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you to proceed with presentation to the committee. Honorable K. Allen McGay, you have the floor.
Legislation kita need source Shmat is Eugene Charles Noon, Regina Charles Noon, Adolf Vice Chair Shabelle Adam Shanale, Mr. James, and then Mr. So legislation 02920 is going before all of the committee. Well, first of all, I just want to acknowledge, make it known that two individuals will be considered as an agent throughout these presentations, who are Mr. Chris Bahi and Mr. Leonard Sosin from the President's Office. There'll be numerous individuals from programs and they identify themselves. Although the basis that the Chigoki launch Ecuador, if there's specific questions that needs to be posed to these individuals, I'll try to go over the legislation, but also give some time to the agents and then the other individuals. But those are the two main agents that I'll be identifying. This is the fourth legislation in a way. Washington, then in the amount of over $714 million. Other Christian CARES Act, basis like that is CJN 4720, CJN 4620, out of CJY 6720. Strategize nothing about cutting about safety or the token now go a point now based on the at machine sector, the English accord in the IT, Hiki Kodo, the Hana Holia, Kodo based on the which present each national list. So, Kodo co-sponsors, I thought you had the team with Mr. Daniel, Henry Daniel, myself, Shemayaja, other Kodo, Mr. James, other Kodo, brother, Mr. Rick Naz, and then everybody. If you guys want to co-sponsor, you're welcome, and I welcome that. I guess overall, I mean, we are up against the timeline. September, October, November, December. In the amount of 176 million. Majority of it will be going directly to some extent to our Navajo people. Exhibit our visor shopping center exhibit 2 in the amount of $4 million. Other Exhibit 3, A broadband. A through the Division of Community Development. There's a partnership with the Dene Investment and Verizon in the amount of $15,450 and $323. Other Exhibit 4A, Department of Education, AA scholarship that Heki, AJ 35 million. Other Exhibit 5, a Head Start, A 4.3 million. A through the Department of Education, the Education Hardship, A Exhibit 6, A 5 million. A through the Division of Social Service. So there's a distinguish between the Exhibit 4 and Exhibit 6. Education, Exhibit 4 gets more of a scholarship in the amount of almost 2,000. The 15,000 that should be how $8 $2,000. But number 5, Education Hardship, Exhibit 6, AAJ through the Division of Social Service. K to 12 school-age children, $250 per student, I believe. 3,000 especially for those that don't qualify for TANF. Other Exhibit 7, the May Education Technology, Exhibit 7, in the amount of $3 million. Asian Ecuador Department of the May Education, Asian Ajay, brother, Mr. Nelson, Britt Nelson, Asian Ajay Kato, a lot of these are some are services and infrastructures that Audit Economic Effort Department of Information Technology, broadband, Exhibit 8, $1 million, A Administrative Support Service, based on them keep it public health. Other Exhibit 8, Exhibit 9, A Codona San Twitter, Codon, and the existed the has a based on $10 million, Division of Social Service, if they call baby out of the 10 A solar projects in the amount of 15 million, the native renewable program, based on through the Division of Community Development. Out of that 15 million, 5 million will be directly appropriated for the former Bennett Freeze area. Based on Dimity, Babaja, and National List. Out of Exhibit 11A, propane and natural gas, Kodor Natural Gas Technologies, A 7.4 million. So a lot of these programs are funded. They will be going through programs like the Exhibit 11, propane and natural gas, through the Division of Community Development. Exhibit 12A, first responders, A Division of Public Safety, A $602,000, A 204 units, Public Safety, Police, Fire Department, EMS, A outlet should be internet service installed based on Dinky. Exhibit 13, A housing improvement in the amount of 25 million. A the CHIP, Community Housing Improvement Department, A mobile home and modular homes. The quick there's not being shape for one Dinky, the non Dinky I see but on it and issue the kite or what then yet. Okay, A this the need 5 million. Okay, now A former Bennett Freeze area, so Ajit Asakipami East or the A Yard Lindy, but Yala. Out of Exhibit 14, solid waste, again through the Division of Community Development, $5 million. A lot of our chapters are accumulating some expense. things that man then we trash that you hiki shoot and not so for that hiki be kite or what the yashi RGD division community development 5 million hold yard on this. Other exhibit 15 office of the controller to RGD test ego on this. AD project le checks the shield out Hayito now sourcing them the Hikishi office of the controller sheet agent is not the media in that and that's not the media so $10 million for resource and cost imposed in this CARES Act funding for just 700 plus million when they're not research to that I believe that this is for additional staffing and supplies in administering the CARES Act funding. Other Office of the Budget and Finance, Exhibit 16, for our economic resource and cost imposed $653,000. All of these budget I'm looking through the legislation 20920. Other Exhibit 17, electronic case management telework for the means so issued through the Division of Social Service remotely just the question society the question society could out in his been much big at the shift I could the patient such case that the initial based on improve those listing yes a Division of Social Service 5 million based on your in Exhibit 17. Other KEPA hardship assistant car AA 29 million .9 $190 Nanki Yada Yoki Do Bishkai or Western Zeniki Do Bekai or Washiki with public Hako Yado Lishman Anaki Okoko deep at Yad and Zeniki Arts Ecuador Joe if you look through the budget, if you look through the legislation, all of them indicate who the oversight committee will be getting the report back. Not on oversight program, oversight committee, other yard and Jimmy to shoot out a house, shown that which a hoodness. The door, Shanada, East Office of the Controller, Ms. Kurt Kodo, the recommendation, door looking through these policies, with Ashi, Kodo's turn agreement, Sashi, they had that it up and yet they should pay not so then it should eat up. The Arjun had that the list of Ashibase had that the Ahanda sheet Arj, Yabi Dinki, Kodo, not picture in that you list that's probably will be produced by each by the controllers and OMB, making sure that's the key thing, making sure all of these fundings are being appropriated and being used accordingly. What the United States Treasury had outlined and what the do's and don'ts in utilizing these funding. The controller will have a strict policy in place. Other OMB, hopefully soon, but not the other decree in the Kahakodoya and then it's for example, Department of Education, other specific what's approved by the budget, and according to the budget, the key has to be submitted to the Office of the Controller. And then in return, the Office of Controller will go through the process and how the funding will be budgeted and implemented. Issue Kodo, Adam nice car, Kodo not a Kodo Yachido, each of these entities should which are about establishment and because this is just in a general snapshot of what we have and what's put together in this particular legislation 209 -20 and of course the rest of the legislation. Of course, this is developed by our legislative council. Abet with hate ado hate ashinju kudo hadiyati the junshik adon shik be hohdi to ban yes to if you need clarification to shoot out. We're hoping that the majority of the people that will be receiving these funding are online to provide clarification. It's not the President's office standard. So with that, Chairman, I know the essence of time. I really like to give some time to the President's office or my agent, Susan. My agent, unless the President or the Vice President or any other are on the line to say a few words. For these whatever time is available, Mr. Chair, I appreciate the timing, and I hope I didn't just rush through in making the presentation, but I just wanted to make sure that we have, and I have provided sufficient information for your consideration and for support. So I'm not going to get at over Kate Kate Kako Kodon, get Nan, the Sheep, the car made it or basically on it, I'm not going to so these are Shukodo, present each with the chairman, Ado Shima, Charles Moon, Shimale, Ado Mr. So, other committee members of the community, Kodo Shudit are a complete slaughter list again, but I'd like to give a few minutes of time to the my agent, Chairman. So,
thank you very much, Honorable Key Allen Begay. Hold on, Key Allen Begay, before I turn it over to your agent. People on the line, please mute your phone. It's really disrupting if someone's speaking that is not muted, and mute your phone. On your phone, there's a little microphone sign on your phone. Please press that.
Yellow hairs on the line.
All right, Honorable Yellow Hair. Let the record reflect the Honorable Yellow Hair on the line, Lorraine. And then, Mr. Yellow Hair, can you mute your phone? Just let you know. Thank you very much. I'll go now. Kellen McGay, we'll go ahead and go with your agent.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Vice Chair and members of the committee. This is Leonard Searcy with Office of the President and Vice President. I'll be assisting Delegate Begay in the presentation and answering questions. I think he did a good job in presenting it, so I don't have much to add except wait for questions or other comments. Thank you, members of the committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sosa, Honorable Sosa. Senator, good to hear you on the line.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You get to recognize a person, and we should have recognized you earlier if you're on the line as a senator. You know, you're always here, one of the few that became a state senator, and good to hear you.
Thank you, sir.
With that, I believe K.L. McGay, you're probably completed with your presentation. Is that correct?
That concludes. Again, I mentioned another individual from the as an agent, which is Mr. Chris Fahy. I don't know if he's on the line or want to say a few words. Otherwise, that concludes my presentation on legislation 209, and respectfully request for your support, Chairman.
Just with the issue of our quorum issue, Okay, okay, Mr. Bahi, are you on the line?
Yes, sir.
All right, then you have the floor. You have
Good
some
morning,
time.
everybody. Thank you for the time. I just want to say good morning to members of the Law and Order Committee, my coworker, Mr. Sosi, and thank you, Delegate Kealan Begay, for sponsoring the legislation. As you know, the most of the proposals on the legislation, if not all, did follow the previous processes put forth by the council. It did get presented to all three branch chiefs if not a little over a month ago, and this was also most of the proposals were presented to the Navajo Nation Council when reviewing CJY 67-20 a little over a month ago. So some of these were line item vetoed to be reconsidered and to be revamped to be put forward again for assistance for direct services. And I just wanted to extend my appreciation to everyone for considering the bill. And on behalf of the Office of the President and Vice President, we wholeheartedly appreciate your support for the bill. And let's, if there's any questions, we're more than happy to help. But the President and Vice President fully support this legislation. And I believe, if not 80% of it goes directly towards direct service, if not more. So I apologize for not having the correct percentage, but a majority of these fundings are slated for direct service to the Navajo people. So thank you again, members of the Law and Order Committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bahi. Honorable Begay, does that complete your report?
Chairman,
I'd like to
and
say
Honorable,
something,
yes.
Delegate Chair. Honorable Otis, Delegate Yellow here.
Mr. Yellow, hold on, Mr. Yellow here. We're still on the reporting to the committee. So we'll get to you. With that, Mr.
Thank you.
Begay.
Chairman, I had Nanda. So yeah, that concludes my our presentation, and we do have various programs and potential recipients of the funding will be online if you have if that's allowable. Maybe those questions could be posed directly to these program directors and company officers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kealan Begay. Committee members, with a motion in place by Honorable Eugene So, second in place by Honorable Vince James. We have everything in order for now. I'm going to go to the questioning. And committee members, Law and Order Committee members, do you have any questions? Go once.
Hey.
Twice. Mr. Eugene So, go ahead. You have the floor.
Ni ada so ko. Ni say de yol. Spila ya sitan se hai a. San med os chi o hai. So. That's easy for you. Mr. Sosi. He did he up in credit ya hata the corn. He did I have my own legislation going forward. I saw what I was making sure. You're on the oversight committee, all the other four. So when now did I and has not cheat, that is not today. So not today. Law and Order because they're on a different oversight committee. And also it goes to the journals. We don't really, I believe we only approve about 2 or 3 or 4 journals since the day we started this council delegate 24th. So these are Nishiki, business Nishiki, Bahagnoshin Aya at the hot aid and laid left to the hot on the whole ground level. Front line, they know the territory, they know if you get them together, they know the map of the whole Navajo Nation
which are the CHRs and the grazing committee. Either if you put them together, you'll know everybody on the Navajo Nation. Now the decreasing exhibit kitchen, because in regards to some of these areas, my concerns are the Navajo as I was, we were processing some 30-gallon water tanks to the veterans. Because we know that those veterans don't have any running water at their hogans. When they kind of got older, and it's kind of hard for them to bring water. So I'm pretty sure it's on just one of the exhibits. The assistant with some water barrel, and then the winter's coming up, get them ready for that hard and not freeze that deep. So in the holiday, tough, that's number one. When I got interviewed by the NBC, there was 40% of the people on reservation don't have running water, and starting with me too. I live right in the middle of Chinle, and since I became an elected official, I just had to bypass a lot of other stuff that was given to the people. So I don't have electricity and I don't have running water, and I live right smack in the middle of Chinle. And the restaurant is not that cut out. In the city, I got an art house outside. So, art house was on the stuff. So these are some of the issues that people are mostly needed out there, that mostly need there, not in downtown Chinle, They have electricity right there and everything's right there to them. Easy. But in the remote areas, but depend on CR, for controls not the case daily. And then, that's just, and because of their grandkids or their kids in school, they kind of came close to the highways. So then, in return, the Navajo Nation government tells them, all vacant it's not vacant. People take care of their livestock over there. So, that's Aggie. Pretty sure you guys got put something in here for those people that really need water out there with no electricity or water in their area, and especially also the solar system that's needed way out there. And then they don't really they have to come to town now and then, maybe sometimes twice a month or once a month to get their supplies out of Bashes or the Lowe's or etc. That's not that. So those are the people that really need help. I know in some areas, where I need to contact which is just one of these exhibits, but I'm saying based upon that, it's not a bit of higher, get a ski. Hey, that's direction that bit how long then it's not that and it was never repaired because they don't have the money. Those are some of the people that really need help so they can have running water inside their house again. Electricity is not open now on the house because they don't have the money to hook it up. Hey, that's even though the house is wired. So I'm pretty sure you must visit all those people and name them all. So I'm just assuming that it's all in here. So I got agencies and that basically. So even I go, in my decision on this legislation, that's where I'll base my decision, because the people that need help are the ones that's out there that don't work. Some of them don't even work. Other veterans, no one veteran that lives way out in the remote area in camouflage, camel bale, nobody visits him. He doesn't go nowhere because he has a bad a way of living with people. He's hiding himself. So because they don't want to harm their kids or their grandkids if they have some of them did, and they just had to move out and live by themselves. So really, I have concern for those people. I'm pretty sure some there you guys already went out there, the president and the vice president and everybody. I'm just assuming you guys got everybody in here
So I don't have to start either. I don't have to school. And the Chris Connor just have the channel. Because the clothing, so either the ape and city that me, I went to school from clothes from the house, from the church, Catholic Church and Presbyterian and Chinley. They're the only one that was open that would give us free clothes when I was growing up. And then we had to go to Windmill where we can wash them almost daily. Sometimes we had to bring water with a bucket from Windmill. My area was about almost half a mile to walk there and come back with a bucket. By the time you get back, the water will be only half full of that bucket. So we use those kind of water, and then we wash our clothes. And I know sometimes when it doesn't dry up and fast enough for your school the next day, when you put it on and it's really early in the morning, then stand against the stove. Those are some of the times that we spent together, and I'm pretty sure some people are still like that out there. That the eight attention, and so I'm pretty sure you got all those guys on here too in your exhibit. So if you guys not visit of a car, so I'm just assuming that you got everything in here. Although I been test street of the side in which I have street of the door, she gave a share for this. These countries don't isn't that day one when it came out by the act and how I thought what was eat on that, and we would have been all pretty well off with the infection and so on. We because of a lot of laws. A lot of laws, but that it is a bit hard on the weekend. So when not actually on yet fit about on how to get there, you ask on other heck half the city called enough coffee. Thank you. Sure. Bye.
Thank you very much. Honorable Eugene So. With that, Mr. Kealan McKay, just note those are questions for now, okay? Committee members, is there any questions that you guys have? On order committee members. Once, twice, 3 times. All right. Honorable yellow hair. Brother. Jimmy Yellow Hair. That's on a phone number of 871-6010. I believe that is a tribal number.
Chairwoman, yes.
Yellow Hair, go ahead.
Okay. Law and Order Committee, been out on the chair, Honorable Arthur So, Charles Newton, the chair too, and the vice chair of correction, Order So, Honorable Member, area Kevin Yaye, Justice Hege, now county, based to a legislation 209, and I'd like to ask Law and Order Committee to add the Hopi Land Commission, XPL, Aja, Secret Solar, Gipitos, 30 to 40 Navajo lives in XPL that they need solar. The Chicago Johnson Hopi Land Commission, 그런 희덕시 그죠? Even in XPL, they need help to get solar system. And we need about 30 to 40 solar up there in XPL. The next generation has called it today on a house. And that's 75 years, I don't know. But because of the 30 years of the budget. Chicago Johnson and Ani. I see you not even Holzgo is Sharona, the kid so not this kid not Ani. I'd like to ask one amendment to add on to the legislation 209. Mr. Kealan McKay to the Chicago Tato Oro Nados to the Chair. Who you Law and Order Committee too. Chair, thank you very much.
Hokoshila, thank you very much, Mr. Yellowhair, for your request. I don't let the record reflect. I was just scrolling through the computer here, and Honorable Thomas Walker. Let the record reflect that Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. is present and at this meeting. Any other honorable delegates on the line besides Honorable Walker and Honorable Yellowhair? Madam Chair?
This is Delegate Crotty. Yes,
Okay.
I'm on the line.
Good. Honorable Amber Crotty is on the line, and Honorable Thomas Walker and Jimmy Yellowhair. Let the record reflect that Sherelle and Laureen. With that, Hokoshila, I'm going to turn the floor back over to the presenter, Key Allen Begay, on the two requests that was made by Honorable, or the questions posed by Honorable So and Honorable Yellowhair. And Ben, I believe you have your agents on the line, and you can direct those questions directly to those agents. So, Mr. Key Allen Begay?
Chairman, Kodoshi, two of the agents could also clarify a lot of these budget security that but I'll go ahead and include with another statement for Mr. Eugene So, Delegate So.
Alrighty then. With that, does that complete your question for Eugene So? P. Allen Begay? Or for your answer to or you want Leonard Sosi to answer, or Chris?
Yeah, let me have those agents respond to some of the questions, and then I can go ahead and also add on additional comments for Mr. So. Chairman?
Mr. Leonard Sosi, I'm going to give some time to you to elaborate on the two comments, two questions from the delegates. Mr. Sosi?
Thank you, Vice Chairman and members of the committee. Good morning again. On the comments by Mr. So, and I think he also was posing some questions and concerns. Regarding the hardships, as we indicated earlier and as Delegate Begay stated, that a big portion of this funding will be direct relief to students, Head Start level, K through 12 level, and college level. And so in terms of clothing assistance, that is through the education incentive that's offered by Division of Social Service. So that will help with those students. And I'd like to tell Mr. So, Delegate So, that I do sympathize, and I humbly agree with him on how washing clothes and all of that, going to boarding school myself. So on the water and the electricity, a lot of that was in the previous CARES fund funding. And so especially in CJY 6720, so 130 million, 140 million, and all of those are probably underway, and the people are being helped with those things. On the bathroom and the fixing, there has been money in previous CARES funding for bathroom addition. And then on the roof thing that he was inquiring about, talking about, that one, I think people can actually apply through this relief, hardship assistance, that people can identify that as a need for their home when they apply. In that sense, they'll be able to get help. So I think on the school clothing and other things, Mr. Chair, I'll leave it to you if you want Division of Social Service to talk about that too. On the Navajo Hopi Land Commission, And the HPL, it is true that this legislation only identifies the Bennett Freeze area, but I don't doubt that probably by the NABI level meeting, I think we can look at the question of whether we can help the Hopi partition area. So we can try to do that as requested by Delegate Yellowhair. But again, I leave since he's requesting for solar, that is probably something that Sean and Mr. Black, Robert Black, in terms of identifying. We can't say that this meeting will get help today because we don't have the numbers. And Mr. Yellowhair, Delegate Yellowhair, can help us in trying to identify some of those and see how many of that can be portioned out to help in the partition area, HPL. So I think those were some of the questions and comments that need responses, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sosi, for your answer there. Mr. Bahi? Mr. Chris Bahi?
Thank you, Chair. I have no additional comments on Mr. Sosi. He kind of touched base on everything I was going to respond as well. So thank you.
Hagoshila, just so that you understand, Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, did the request in lagi President's office there in has Andre amend by Nabi. So that would spark a communication between Mr. Black's shop, Mr. Robert Black's office, Navajo Hopi Land Commission office, to entail of amending that and adding in the request that you are making here at the Law and Order Committee. And we will note that, so I personally feel that same way. That I believe that should have been thought of regarding to our people that were affected by the Navajo Hopi land dispute. And we have opportunities at this time to infuse and try to help those people out there. I always say that the pause button was pressed by the federal government. So the development of Navajo in that region, if you put the two acreage together, it comes out to about 4.2 million acres that was set aside for related to the land dispute in the NPL, in the 1882 executive order in the 1934 area known as the former Bennett Freeze. So that's just my thought as a representative from Tuba City. I don't know what were the discussions, the discussions during the creation of that portion of this exhibit, of that certain exhibit. But our people in that area, case, because the world continued to the Navajo Nation continued to expand in other areas of the Navajo Nation that weren't affected by the land dispute. But like for the Bennett Freeze, and it was 46 years that things were put on halt. The 1882 executive order, the Congress finally made this final decision in 1989. Since 1966 to 1989, the pause button was pressed in the so that is just my thought. And as a chairman of Navajo Hopi Land Commission, Mr. Yellowhair, I will go ahead and work with you on that to address your concern. I too feel that the MPL residents should have been considered, and knowing that the president comes from MPL and his roots comes from there, from those affected land, it really makes me think. But again, he's, I guess, our commander in chief, and if he decides not to assist the people in MPL, that's his decision. But as leaders, council delegates from regions, we all speak on our behalf of our people, whether it's an NPL, HPL, or an Eastern, things like that. The Naban case, but we will go ahead and assist you on that related to your request to those people that were affected by the accommodation agreement inside the former 1882 executive order. And Mr. Yellow Hair, Ash Ikidinta.
Oh, not the Tiliaji. Chair.
Mr. Yellow Hair, I'll come back to you with a follow-up. I have two more individuals in the queue right now. So
okay.
With that, I'm going to go back to Mr. Thomas Walker. Honorable Thomas Walker.
Oh, yeah, Vice Chair, also she get telling although Law and Order Committee doesn't so I just saw the so now the dish can so yeah so chaho although Dyson launching that is although sponsor and presenter of the legislation 02902091 or -20 delegate T. Alan Begay, other your agents to Leonard Sosi to Chris Bahi nan hidi na dikkido ye not hada si by Shehina. These are quite just looking at the legislation page 6 on your legislation either page 6 the number 9 going to that paragraph solar projects expenditure plan yeah yes $15 million a banda dot so neniki a quiet ja bansa kisdi at idnehiki at ordnet we've not ever done this as a nation, providing solar equipment to almost every community, every chapter, even to the former Bennett Freeze area. Navajo Nation's not done anything like this, providing equipment, providing resources like this on an emergency basis. Even it's not need a bunch of $15 million native renewables. Native renewables issue company that's a Navajo Nation that's it is earlier. Just in that that's the last month quite a bus so a coho oban just kids of data and a hot nisa the hojo has the Nikki the Quishing there are unknowns and uncertainties in this during this pandemic and during this process of allocating, appropriating funding given to us by the federal government, thus named CARES Act money. But then that's again unprecedented. Out of the emergency itself, the pandemic, so during more recent time, certainly during our lifetime, so even not the peso the dot the solar equipment, solar units, the Nabanda Hidon. Out of that, 5 million acres, former Bennett Freeze area, J1 dot, actually, no, because of this paragraph. Could ananda to native renewables. A quaggy, Autoban, just case of ananda support couple that the Johnson, other than just naming one company. Ananda other qualified or licensed solar vendors. A board couple, Johata Bohnet Zadoli, Johnson, just his Asha. Or youth, Banan, show the Kishin Hate. Should about the Hotties at the net either. Other to what other Banan should take straight out of Spaz and the shadow on the Bahatis 8 and Echo. Kodanish Yego, Hagi, Nan Spad Badanit Ako. Others, Yedaned, others, Chokwag. I called Ananda Shata. Other companies, other solar companies that are licensed or qualified, I call eight by when it comes to former Bennett Freeze area, four out of 5 chapters that I represent are in the former Bennett Freeze area. What I Bakai though what Yonan do it all hot neither Yonan Benan Tagi it Quishin or you just Josh Neda Benahon Aquajet at Ojan Nekatini, your greater Navajo that are not within former Bennett Freeze or even MPL or HPL, Shahodat, Kotiki Yakuja, Yistin Agi Edayanan, Kite over. Even instant did Adla the Quiltashi Ebenan, Shite Deholia Johnson. I'm not on this committee, but I do have a ability to, I guess, make a motion at the Navikiati committee level and the council. But Oban Saske so let Isha a Bahol Jijo. Whatever that, yeah, Johnson, Edota, Law and Order Committee member, whatever Dosha, Benhikatocha, amendment to include other solar companies take part here as far as the solar project expenditure. Other solar projects in addition to native renewables. As far as I'm concerned. So better than that other Bada so she gita gato bonet zado a so the dish let's show what echo so better in the late or whatever, but I think other companies could be included here. Chinanta Delegate Begay, sponsor of this legislation, I guess I could ask you that question. Are you open to that, or does that make sense? If so, then back to LOC. Soft recommendation, or I mean, as an amendment.
Thank you very much, Honorable Thomas Walker, for that request and your statement. And before I ask for that request, I'm going to turn the floor back over to Honorable Leonard Sosi.
Again, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. A couple of things. One is Native Renewal is a nonprofit corporation, and the president's office was able to talk with Walia Johns. She did a good proposal, and many questions were asked. And so if you look at their proposal, it is actually a well-put proposal that's designed to where it would help all areas of Navajo. And in fact, I think the way they described it was that 200 off-grid system will go to the Bennett Freeze area because that's the carve out. And then 400 will go to the Navajo Nation, you know, all 110 chapter, wherever it is identified. And so in a way, when you look at this, the MPL is already included on this. And then the other one that's doing the solar too is NTUA. So there are two organizations that are doing solar. In the previous CARES funding legislation, NTUA was specifically identified. So in this one, it's Native Renewals. And so they did put a good plan together. If you go with, there's no other company that applied. And with the short time that we have until December 30th, I don't know if it would be feasible to try to vet a different company to look at this and see what we could do. But in my opinion, I think Native Renewal is ready to go. And when we were talking with them, they said they have the people all ready to go, the providers all ready to go. All they need is the go ahead. And so, and I think they can cover it all. I think those that have you that know Walia John, I think she's a woman of her word and is highly credible when she makes presentation. So I think they'll be able to do it. On the other that Native Renewals can do is I think they could subcontract it to another company if they find that this is a lot of work. And so the problem we might have is, you know, vetting another company, another solar company to do this at this late stage. So that's the only thing that I think the president's office would be worried about. And we trust the proposal by Native Renewals to cover the areas of the Navajo Nation. And then, like I said, there's a carve out for the former Bennett Freeze area. I think as to your concern, Mr. Vice Chair, and also to Delegate Yellowhair's concern, I think we can talk with Ms. John to say that can we include the NPL area, a certain amount of homes, so that we can guarantee it for the NPL, solar projects for the NPL area in the carve out along with the Bennett Freeze area. But that's a question that I wrote down, and I'm pretty sure we'll have Ms. John and others will look at it, including Mr. Black. That's my response, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sosi, for your response to Honorable Thomas Walker. Before I go to Mr. Yellowhair for a follow-up, Mr. Thomas Walker, was your answer, was your question answered related to your question there? And I believe the conversation is that there will be time to make these amendments at NABI. With that, and then I believe there may be some planning to do, because what might happen is that proposal that's being proposed by by Navajo Hopi Land Commission office will have to be amended. And if we could work with Mr. Blackishop to work on an amendment to include these areas that that you guys have concern over, and especially in the NPL area that's directly on Navajo jurisdiction. And then we have Navajo citizens that reside on HPL, which live on Hopi jurisdiction, but they're still Navajo citizens that are registered with the nearest chapter, whether it's Coal Mine, Tonalea, Shanto, or Hard Rock, or down into Tisto and Delcon area. Ajit Net Ati, they live in Hopi jurisdiction and signing the 75-year accommodation agreement. So we have citizens living on there, and I guess the formality of those Navajo citizens that lived there need to be considered, because the CARES Act was a good portion of the CARES Act money was based off of population, and the population, those Navajo citizens, we want to make sure that those Navajo citizens are accounted and they are thought of in this proposal. Mr. Walker, Honorable Walker?
Yes, Vice Chairman So, though, again, LOC members and sponsors, your agent, Mr. Sosi, OPVP, though, not kanin siki, Chocho hat eda Chota Gitahatin on John Honey, the proposal that Ms. John submitted to OPVP. I don't think council has received that proposal. Of course, it don't the legislation need so I don't have that to go on. Or visit in the Hepakao in the show. Still the vast and the door had either shot. Johnson, even not the Schnecker. One other thing is once the solar units are delivered, once they're deployed and they're installed, what is the relationship between Navajo Nation, other homeowner, the native renewables, other Nepani, Kieto, Pabadahidin, Eto Yezat, Joe Quagge is NTUA, RGTA. What they're doing is they will be the owner, other MNO, maintain and operation, it up and on, should they need all this. Joe Quagge. It the phone that that the solar units will be owned by NTUA and not the homeowners. It over John Hodneta. It all quite again. Should I your the fashion bag? I got DG Shin out quite again. A caution proposal to be the net of the Hodneta paid Nisa homeowner equipment. It does it all the store or Kajota. I'm sure there's warranty and that would cover a period of 1 year, 2 years, maybe. Battery they run down or whatever, and they need to be replaced or repaired. I'm sure it's in the proposal that was submitted by Native Renewables. And that would answer those kinds of questions. Vice Chair, LOC, in the corner, Yiddish proposal, thank you for the time, Vice Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Thomas Walker. Just so that the legislation, if you look at it, has exhibits to it. I believe there's about 16 Kushi exhibits that be here. In each of the proposals are listed in there. but to amend those proposals will require a communication with, in this case, would be Native Renewables. And Walea Johns, are you on the line?
Yes,
Walea.
Chairman So. Can you hear me?
Yes, Walea Johns, yes. Can you elaborate on Honorable Walker's questions related to how your proposal will provide that service out to the communities, and I'm sure you're on the line and talking directly to O&M, and I guess the turnover of the materials or the product to the homeowner, things like that. How far does the string stays attached to the product versus how NTUA, who brought a proposal in, has informed council how they're gonna do their O&M and their services related to the Navajos that they serve. And could you elaborate to the questions that Honorable Walker and Honorable Yellowhair was posing earlier? You have the floor, Walea. Walea.
Go ahead, Chairman So and members of the committee and Delegate Walker and Delegate Yellowhair. My name is Wahala Johns, and I'm the Director of Native Renewables. I'm from north of Forest Lake, area called Twinjona. And I've been working with this organization for about over 5 years. And we specialize in community education on solar. And the key for off-grid solar to last a long time, we can see that it can last over 20 years, 20 to 30 years, if the system is properly cared for by the homeowner. So we've developed education materials, both in Navajo and English, that we go through with the customer to talk about how to take care of their system so that it can last that long. And there are, in this proposal, we put in there for 7-year annual maintenance for each system. And we're currently based in Flagstaff, Arizona, and our team members are Navajo and Hopi as well. And so we're from this region, and we are dedicated to bringing off-grid solar education to our communities, because we know there's a lot of families that live in remote locations that will probably never see a power line because it's very expensive to extend to their homestead. And we think this proposal is a efficient emergency relief, but it's a long-term relief for families that have been in a state of emergency for a very long time. The former Bennett Freeze region, the Navajo Hopi Land region, we get calls every day from families that need battery replacement, that need maintenance. And so that's what our specialty is. We have a triage program. And in this proposal, we put in there for 50 homes to get battery replacements, because a lot of our calls that we get from families is replacement of batteries. And we don't have the money to replace that because they cost a lot. And we're currently going to do actually a battery replacement in Delegate Thomas Walker, your community, with an elder who is in need of battery replacement. So that's kind of the services we offer to our families, our people out there on Navajo, also in Hopi. And but if that answers your questions, in this proposal, it's $15 million, and $5 million of it is going to be used for former Bennett Freeze for off-grid solar. The other 10 will go to the rest of Navajo Nation, and we have collected about 600 names of families that don't have access to electricity, and are getting supporting resolutions And I think we have about 36 public comments in support of this proposal. So I'm happy to share more. We also went through all of the committees in the previous CARES proposal for $34 million. We were ready to do 1,500 systems. And we've been vetted through the Office of President and Vice President, and then also the council. So I appreciate everyone's questions. I know Off-Grid Solar has been on Navajo for over 20 plus years, and there's been huge pitfalls of not having maintenance, not having the expertise in our communities to help troubleshoot these systems, or for families to have the education on how to manage their energy load. These are all the pieces that are needed and are critical for the longevity of these off-grid solar units. And I'm really excited about sharing our vision, because what we are proposing is going to employ the electricians, the different workforce, Navajo workforce that exists on Navajo already. So that's the approach that we have, because we are dedicated to making sure that the families that are most in need of power, they get that. And this CARES funding is available, and that can help solve that issue. So that's all I want to say. Just introduce myself and who we are, and I'm ready to answer any more questions if needed. Thank you, Chairman. So.
Thank you very much, Walia, for your for answering Mr. Thomas Walker's questions, and also carrying your answer into Mr. Honorable Yellowhair's area. And I believe just so that maybe if a discussion would happen with I believe the Navajo Hopi Land Commission, and as the chairman, I will go ahead and if you can you provide us your phone number?
Yes, it's 928-637-5281. That's 928-637-5281.
Okay, thank you very much, Walia, for that information, and we will be contacting you. With that, Mr. Black, are you on the line? Executive Director for Navajo Hopi Land Commission. Mr. Robert Black? Okay, Mr. Black is not on the line. With that,
Mr. Chair, I am on the line.
Mr. Black, can you elaborate to the concerns that were brought up by Honorable Yellowhair and Honorable Walker related to the issues related to solar? And you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I apologize if I fade out. I'm on my way to Kavido chapter to meet with the staff there. So, but real quickly, I just wanted to make sure that the vendors are aware of the what's in play right now as far as productions of these units. I know that we always say that, yeah, it's needed out there, but I think we have to look at what the technical aspects of this, where the units going to be assembled, or if there's enough inventory, or the powers purchasing, has that been done, or the agreements are already in place for solar panels, or all the compositions of the units that's going to be constructed. And if it's possible for the former vendor freeze area, my position is that maybe we could request a different vendor for that site, so that I know that I can oversee that, and then in this way I can help out the Division of Community Development, because I know they have a lot of other projects they need to look over. So Chair, I think my recommendation is that the former vendor freeze area have a separate vendor so that we know and that we can be working with the sister in order to, I guess, have a certain section which will be our primary focus. So, and I think I haven't really seen a plan on how the Navajo Nation-wide distribution of solar unit production is going to take out, because I've only seen like 2 or 3 pages of the description of the native renewal proposal. So I think the questions will be how this all will be planned out. And then right now we only got September, October, November, December. So, and I believe we'll have to turn out over close to probably 700 units or close to it. And I think I don't know if one vendor can be able to achieve this, but certainly I think that my recommendation is that the form of beneficiary be addressed with a separate vendor, which is under the auspices of the Navajo Hopi Land Commission. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Black, for your response there to the questions provided. We appreciate that. Mr.
Excuse me, Vice, this is Delegate Crotty. Can I just, for the record, who was that just made the recommendations on the solar to go to Bennett Free?
The last person that spoke was Robert Black. He was talking about the solar the solar project that's being vetted through the president's office with Native Renewable, and his recommendation is to suggest a separate vendor to service the FFBA area. And I believe his concern is to the size and magnitude of the project. And even though we have NTUA providing that type of service also, but that's just a recommendation, Honorable Crotty.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So, committee members, thank you for letting me allow to that clarification. Is there anyone on the line that's going to speak to the communities that happen to be in the New Mexico side that need solar? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Leonard Sosi for that and see if he has anybody to address the New Mexico side related to the solar. Honorable Sosi?
Thank you again, Vice Chair. So, and members of the committee, there is no vendor from New Mexico site that gave a proposal. With this proposal by Native Renewals, it is designed to cover all of Navajo Nation, including areas of New Mexico and Utah. As you heard from Ms. John, they've received, I think, 600 recommended names needing solar units. So I think, I don't have that list offhand, but I think we can desegregate that into New Mexico, Utah, and Arizona. Because Native Renewal is just not to Arizona, but they're covering the whole Navajo Nation in this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sosi. Madam Chair, does that suffice your answer?
Thank you, Vice Chair. So just being part of the solar discussion, I think when this legislation hits Budget and Finance, I'll provide the work that we've been doing to provide solar across Navajo Nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Crotty. Okay, Honorable...
one question, Shinola.
Honorable Jimmy Yellowhair, go ahead.
Okay, Chair. Okay, still Chair. I don't the committee members, loan order committee members. The main concern is also the two areas, Navajo petition at HPL and also NPL. ICU, Nahoti, since 1974, the United States has messed up Navajo Nation life out there in these areas. So, Nahoti, I think I was listening to Ms. John, Mr. Leonard Sosi. He aren't any about 600 names. name a Picadilly, what couldn't that be at all, Mr. T.L. McCabe legislation to because when they HPL go be that here in PL, 88 beat out here, back at the end for beat out something there. All of the recommendation that ought to be is just to understand our legislation. And a lot of it are behind the listen at Annie. I guess it's like a chair if they look for things, just put you in the corner. So as a committee, this should be also add on to it, and as my recommendations to you to amend this legislation as to be thought. So, I don't we should have a correct names in HPL and MPL without be thought. So it should have plus $600. About Hens and not on the question ways the benefits by ST to HPL and MPL. I don't know not that field to do. I guess avocado teacher. Out of law, these in 4 areas. We need to look into it. I guess let's take care of these in 4 areas to provide funds and very equal distributions. Nobody brought the law. Now, quite no KG. Avocado teacher. Chicago, here is not on the night. You could in toilet after. They say out of windmill, the water button does not on it. The very API is a yacht on the opinion of also. Nisha, windmill best button, water is it all. Missing windmill button, no, at 3. I said, can you write in written statement that you have no funds from BRA? So, question doesn't have it on the MPL, the RG never caught deal with it, mean the BRA and the space attention. You just last month on teleconference. 80 I don't see statement in the highest. Need the Korean his in quarterly report. No, I said I want Pacific. Cause he water with the high by and Tito and the boss in there so given CC copy that you don't have money for PRA from PRA to provide MPL for water. So air stamps of 8 bucks but then the no one left in. But as of today, there's none. So there's no money from BR8 or it all been disquisition. Should not on. It's not fly. But I was already on Arizona, New Mexico, Utah. The tell me in it all Colorado. Utah key out in it. Once a voice shadows to the thank you, Mr. John, Mr. Sophie, on behalf of the Navajo Nation President, she yes, Mr. Jonathan Nance and Toshi, Vice President Leonard. Mr. Elijah, excuse me, Vice President, thank you very much. And Jonas LaFleur, Chair, Mr. Honorable Auditor, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Yellow Hair, and for your statement there related to the equity in the region for Cross Navajo. I believe that is a fair stance related to the solar. Every delegate region has a person who is living off grid that needs attention, and I believe that's something that we really need to look at. And then, as Honorable Leonard Sosi talked about, related to desegregating New Mexico, Utah, and Arizona, and addressing them in their own unique ways, because what Honorable Crotty brings up is very true, and these amendments will be occurring as this legislation proceeds. And I believe with this, maybe we can entertain some sort of an amendment for these requests. But we're going to need some information in order to get these amendments moving. And before I move to that, let me go to Honorable Eugene So.
Chanel, I got a question. to the young lady that just answered Malaya, regards to she was presenting and she said something about writing both in English and Navajo. No, yeah, I would like to have a legal answer on that one. Regards to, as example, I'm going to make these the hospital on the Navajo Nation. They were trying to put Navajo language on the restroom or doors, etc. Where everything instead of English. And as it requires like that, because us Navajos, some of us have never really had high grades in English because we had to pronounce it to understand, to read it in Navajo language. So they must have think that we knew how to read Navajo right off the bat when we're born because we're Navajo. So regards to that, I think there needs to be a legal opinion regards to that. If it's going to be used for teaching, like somebody knows how to read Navajo and read it to a Navajo person, I reckon it's fine. But again, it can be used against them by, it's already in Navajo. You should have read it already when they don't even know how to read Navajo. That would be used against them legally. We're beginning to go that route in a lot of places without really realizing. I don't know. The next one to get the battery, the replacement. For your so it goes back to, I think it was Mr. Bellah's question regarding Khelapadet, Khelapiz. Akodi Sol Bunny Tower, Papa Bash Elia, Golae Hate, eat us, but I speak and late, not so. Do better the Hashini, Nani that it hot, and it trail to Perry Pan Hanny Hoko. So called the the Kida Yota and Nani Hashi, that Iliagi to do the solar system across the Navajo Nation, which I think 600 is not enough name across the Navajo Nation. It should be more than that. Or the Adesh kid of this. The legal port of the Navajo Nation language and English and both Ninigi, English and Navajo, that really conflicts, with the legality of Craig Khela, Khela Tanhato, I don't pass in your Navajo, what needed on our software, notable Sosnahan. So Craig, yeah, I want that answer. Thank you,
Thank you very much. Willia, can you answer those questions?
Auto Delegate James, question.
Okay. I'll put you in the queue. Willia?
Thank you, Chairman So and committee members and Mr. So for that question. When I said Navajo in English, the first customer that we had to do installation, she preferably wanted us to communicate to her in Navajo. So that's why I said Navajo, but there's nothing that we write down in Navajo. It's all in English, but verbally we communicate how the system works to people who speak Navajo. So that's what I meant by it's, I guess, culturally relevant to the people who are going to serve. Majority of them speak Navajo. So if we want them to understand how this technology works, how to manage their energy load, the do's and don'ts of off-grid solar, we have to communicate that to the customer so that they understand. We also do it in English because many families are multi-generational, and you have families that have small children. And so they have an energy load as well. They might have electronics they want to power or TV. So those are things that we go through with the families to talk through all of their different things that they plug into their outlets and how they can manage it. And as far as the battery replacement, it's like that everywhere throughout Navajo Nation. There's a lot of companies, outside companies, that have been, they've received USDA grants that for rural electrification, and they were able to get contracts with either Navajo Land Commission or different offices from Navajo Nation to do off-grid solar. So there's a lot of systems out there, and as I mentioned earlier, we get phone calls from these families that want us to help them fix their off-grid solar unit. And a lot of times it's because of the batteries are not working. And so in this proposal, we put 50 homes to be able to replace batteries because we know that's a huge need. And again, this is CARES funding, and we see off-grid solar as an emergency relief solution, because whether it's hurricanes or different disaster relief, off-grid solar has been used in different regions of the world to provide good solar or energy solution. But also, again, it comes with the education part with the customer. So that's the part that I feel like is really important for this program to work. And then also going back to a comment around HPL and NPL, that number includes, I spoke and I presented before Hard Rock chapter last week. So they raised a concern about the families up there in HPL and NPL, that a lot of families that don't have access to electricity. And we're asking all the chapters to submit their list to us, and so that's what we're getting. And that just proves that there's a need for power. And this is not, you know, I don't know what NTUA's list is, but I would like to, we're open to sitting down with NTUA and going through the list as well and working together. We have no problem with that. And if there could be a directive for that to happen, that would be really great and efficient for us to be able to look at how we can solve this energy access issue today. So that's just what I wanted to mention to Delegate Yellowhair, is that we did present to Hard Rock chapter, and they did identify families, and they're included in this list.
Thank you very much, Willia, for your answer. Back to Mr. Eugene So. With that, Honorable James.
Nale, I love the non-order committee. No, the Nazi Kanigi, Ado, the Nale, Honorable Kialan Brigade, that, okay, then he does on it, so the call. Because shit is saying, though, they could not the kids, the league, they could on the Hitching, great lean and stuff. Because they there, I just got that, I need not talk. That hold on, or they did not hide it. They open art like that, not none, the need or the need. I got that, I need it. They called the ship at that, I need it. For ye, I don't see the case of she cannot hold hold on, cannot hold they quite again, not the kidney, a article. In regard to a contract, I don't know if there's a contract. If so, when did the contract begin, and when will it end with the Navajo Nation, the Data Solar Group there? If there is an agreement among you guys. The reason why I say this is because as we continue to discuss this and continue to move forward with trying to make improvements, we have Navajo families that are moving back from the urban areas, moving back because they lost their job and now they received eviction notice. They're moving back, and they're moving back into homes that are not water accessible, electric power accessible. They have no choice but to move back into those homes. Some are moving next door to their parents, to their grandparents, and trying to make ends meet. At the same time, we have kids that are enrolled and trying to do their Zoom, trying to do their assignment, but yet there's no electricity. There's no way to power back up their electronic devices. And as we continue to discuss this, that's how we are hurting our young Navajo children. That's how we are hurting our Navajo families as we continue to prolong a lot of these projects and continue to ask and go round and round on questions and issues. And I have a family in Jedito, which is one of my chapters, that's in that situation. They had no choice but to use cardboard boxes and sit under the shed house and build that shed house into a temporary home because they were evicted from their apartment. And they had no choice but to come home because there's no job. And that's how we continue to hurt our families by prolonging all of these things that we keep bringing up and issues that we keep bringing up. When is it that we're going to move forward and start spending these funds on these individuals, which is our Navajo people? For us, it's easy to talk and to say all these issues, but, you know, we have families out there that are in that situation. And I know I'm not the only delegate or the only communities that are running into these issues. We have families that finally find some funds and they go into the border towns, and when they leave that grocery store, they walk out and their vehicle is repoed because they had nothing to pay for it because of the pandemic. And that's how bad our Navajo people are going through and suffering. And we continue to go round and round on these funds when our Navajo people are hurting. I could share, and I know my colleagues can share so many different stories similar to the stories that I'm sharing now. And you all know, as my colleagues, as the delegates of the Navajo Nation, you know what we are facing. You know what we are going through at the time being of this pandemic. But yet we continue to sit here and go round and round and bringing up all these nonsense issues. Majority of them is just like, what is wrong with us? What is wrong with us delegates when our families are hurting, when they're suffering out there? Do we have to start showing pictures? You know, it's just like, come on, colleagues, let's just move forward and let's get this funding spended. And let's do what we can, as much as we can. And we're short on time. We're burning oil. We're burning daylight as we continue to go round and round.
I'm in our company's employment and staffing department on a recorded line, and I show here that you inquired about a job on one of our websites. Can you hear me okay?
So, and we continue to interrupt one another, but I guess
after regarding education, my callback number is 866-201-8233.
Colleagues, can you please mute your phones if you're trying to make a call and on your phone, Ashonda. Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Mr. James.
Nale, ako kodon yegon hidden and the niki between the huitna. Yego hashit eshit kitahon niho, contate, oti peso. Anet land she hala ba yel kio. The quid she not so begin that the on his holdish. Peso today don't in last and hidden. The unlake in yata ade can trust the keta hat on. The question na nation line but on kotalia. Ado ade ye keta hat en bogan at a yosene. Ado ik end the oleho. Ade and nata hat ne. Kode nata hat neho. Ado be has ani be hana hat kaya hatot as baka hawan dot asliki ado hanad land shin nada alka began nada asplau aje peso chide do inle ye otanel ado kodona anati ne so hey tin hatot space the chin hatot ton hatot be has ani ko e kaya leni hat out ina e khit it never gan idoli ye akodo lis ye ken ido listen aten aje to ta it aje to ta linda khit out e ya not le de to lis ken leni ki le den ho tam khata be ye to khato le te khit out e ben da anashi ki chide do and yo da adleta zlin o kot an khachne ni hik e leni ki ta ho ni ho nata ha kha adoko de nata ha kha ho chaha o naznel hawam maze ata shit api khota dil klende ko ada o ko do na o ad banda ho pada ho ai yito inna de del yito hashin sot e pada hasi yito chiyan de on pada ha jo pa ken lini ki naznelo konde yeta benda da not sos lini ki dande da sos plastic da is balo akodo yo ya ich da do yo ya istu no that apo hona aniki let il zene hike ade da another yija another man's trash another man's treasure no ba yata ki se la gan eki ni hitne ki ta hone ho kodet o yo o ishiti no dan huge dan ado da ba yel ki so peso chiteto so peso aje ko ta ho on ha aje chiteto inse aten na ha chene ni ti de shanti bet ade peso chi ani ki sa yete san le ta hashit eshi cha o yi kun de ke ka o yeten le ade he o ade o skin so ti shanti bet ade til bet ade ya konye ti hala na ha chene bet ko da dia ti ada no kha do le to bet ni to pa ta ha ne det be ya they don't eat that, but or a hand at ten. Even in Nashi hot ice, though, even in a cut out in Hutchin to the off, and then open that a huge halaba yes, Kodo hot on not the Sahas. They're the told the Sahot out his arm. Hutchin how she laid it outside in the highest town. They hot out a day. As agent Vijayona at the east Kodan solar panel, harbor freight then the head need on the end, on the battery, it's the according up a analysis, but not the shon the Ashon Asaba and Dick, a cut out DD Ostra. I don't know the DD is for Baltra, it's not now, project Nana. Baba na il ho at e pa al he na had netse o kot in his holdish bin na ni ke in den na nation linis an kolia nlede ken ya dat ede ade ke honit in de ade ado beken osle open na de o kot nani na ye aten ha ata hawan at ko do nese aten osle ata Lego Bekas Ani Bekatet Ade ko English dotni. Hanza Goshina Hagoshin the Hajoba the Hodo Nislipinina did Ocha of the Yan O King of Kini Hita Ned. Jokot Ebeha or three Adonan Leko Ye the steamboat the Akonanet Hawan Maze Hatashi the Ande Kondian Hush in not a slave in not a sage not is kind. Ahajo Bago, Achini is a Nachin and little Kahantiel, Akonanet, how wanted that Alia not a star Husky, though a man Leniki, but Achinit Ha, Bachiniya Jatan de Tucson. Achiniya Banat and Banato ye or Ego Adish age. But I had your bar or teston or contact this balo. Achiniya Konya Tucson then Ishi Bichakota Liago, Yik in that is Niho, or Kot Ada Ostra. Egit and Inki. Jil seho pa kuznis niho sheeti tishnini is sabe yatist kito lesako. Shed ado ned enle de shitne kita ho nehiki bekhasnasha. Dola pa hajo pa at ekayajnes eat of banata then. But hajo pa kwaki billa and this now. Da ostkao shit da ostkao. Dola ba chahasenda. A con de na has ano concho that eho beso today don't eat. I don't know what you ate, and another old urban na what these section D Division of Community Development Social Services Angende. Aten hatan shita abachita hweshne and then dosjenda at least o hadishi na all day. Shinalita a kondia and nesa alo. Somebody sleeping at the wheel. No the yaya kit egi ala shohala ani kohot zalat on sinako. Tikotat egot epa yashtki o lego nat anitan leniki ntabit isnel. But eta shla o hadishi o de ako. A date ot o kota peso skin lo shade do instit anahas anipa in sompeni na atishne ako. Shinat no leniki do adenta isnot ai. A shaha kunzago eshisnot isat leniti kodona so. Pero que ni tato ni sodiki hot ella pa hasito le ella
Thank you very much, Honorable James. I'm going to turn the floor over to Honorable Sosi. Honorable Leonard Sosi.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and Delegate James, and members of the committee. I think Delegate James expressed his thoughts on the need to do this right away and try to approve some funding for people out there that are really in need. I didn't really hear a question in there, but it is sometimes somewhat frustrating because we have a process that takes a while. And maybe the council and the president could look at ways to amend those things so that something goes faster. Like at the moment, like in this legislative process, we're going to go through all the committees, and I don't know how long that's going to take. And so, and then we also have then a financial system that takes a while to process these things. And then on the home site application and others, you know, it takes a while. There is a one-stop shop, that discussion that was done. There's a white paper that was sent to the federal government to change policies. The president has talked about submitting a recommendation on how to change some of these things so that things could be approved sooner. But at the moment, we are, I think, you know, to the constituents of Delegate James, there is hardship assistance in here that they could apply for when it's approved. And I think with good discussion and good recommendations from the council and others, we could try to make this a much faster process in processing these things. So I think, you know, just as an example, I believe the Division of Economic Development has found a vendor to try to work with in processing the relief for artisans and others. And I think we could kind of do a similar thing. And then on this, it is my understanding that the Department of Self-Reliance is able to process the payment sooner too. So it's just a matter of proving the money and giving it to them. And maybe in this legislation, it could specifically say that these hardship assistance could go to be processed by Division of Self-Reliance. I understand they can cut the checks. So those are some of the things I think we can work on to try to make it faster. Shanantai, Koko, and of course, our heart goes out to those people that have been severely impacted by this pandemic. And I think if the leadership of the Navajo Nation all come together and try to process these sooners, maybe we could find some relief for some of these Navajo families. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sosi and members of the Law and Order Committee and honorable delegates that are on the line. Honorable Yellow Hair and Honorable Thomas Walker and Honorable Amber Karate for those questions. And I believe these questions are legitimate related to the amount of funding to be allocated. And I know it's good to hear your voice as part of the discussion here. And I believe this discussion will allude to amendments as it moves and carries on through the process, through the legislative process. And Honorable Sosi is right. We have a financial system that is very, very tedious and excuse me, requires many documents and other checks and protocol to go ahead and process documents. And according to the controller, as she made presentations to the council, that the federal government is really looking at how these dollars are being spent. And I believe she is cautious there, and that's the reason why we have those various people's individuals in those places. And I don't before I move on, I just have I guess a couple of questions. Hardship assistance. What is anticipated? The anticipated amount for hardship assistance, and is it going to is the executive branch going to segregate people, or is it just across the board for every Navajo citizen? That's the second question there. The other is the student assistant. How much and how much will they be receiving? I don't the propane, helping people with propane deliveries. Will that be like a voucher to existing vendors out there, such as Speedway? We have many speedways throughout the Navajo Nation, and they have propane. A lot of people don't have big propane tanks, but people utilize 5-gallon tanks or 25-gallon tanks. And is there going to be vouchers given out in this realm? The other is the economic development. What is the new economic development related to this new round that they're requesting? We gave them $60 million. And what is economic development bringing to the table again that's new, rather than what they have proposed to the council on CARES Act 3? The last one, final question is, or no, two questions that's left, is that housing. How is that going to be anticipated throughout through the 24 delegate region? Or is it going to be handpicked by the executive branch to selective community members of each region? I don't know. How is the that process going to be made? And then the other is that on CARES Act 1, the program, the executive branch set their own deadline as August 31st, and on August 21st, OMB made a report to the Budget and Finance Committee, and out of I believe it was 70 million. I'm just in the, I think it's projected to be about 70 million that was allocated under the 116, there was only about $300,000 that was spent, and there's about roughly 690 million still lingering out there that's supposed to be reverted back to the main Navajo Nation CARES Act fund. With that, how is the executive branch programs right now that are requesting for dollars will ensure that they will spend monies that the Navajo Nation Council appropriates? Because these amount of hours that we put into these appropriation, and that's to Honorable James' concern. We just talk and talk, but it comes down to spending. How is the executive branch going to propose to hold themselves accountable to spend these dollars? If they don't spend these dollars like on 116, what type of consequences can the executive branch put on themselves for that purpose? Because it's because of you guys. You guys just talk. You guys just do this. You guys don't want to give the money to appropriate the monies. But how are you going to hold yourself accountable if you don't spend the monies? And it already happened once. And we know it happened once. It's going to happen again. And I really hope that you guys have really think this through, because the last legislation, I believe, we put in almost 40 hours at the council. 12 hours, 14 hours, midnight. That's just at council. And then the other NABI took about 48 hours, the amount of hours we put into that. And even how is the executive branch going to make sure that these dollars are going to be utilized? And for instance, these other subcontractors you guys put in place, how are you going to hold them accountable? Are you going to put into the contracts that if they don't finish a certain number of services provided, you're going to decrease their contract? Meaning, as a regular contract, that way you make them work to get these services completed. Other than that, the same old thing's going to happen. People are going to wait, and alluding to Mr. James, as firsthand experience on people living out there. As Honorable James alluded to, cardboard insulation on a home. I remember at sheep camp, that's what we used to do. Cardboard on the insulation, really sheds light and brings memory. Honorable Sosi, Honorable Eugene Soya, they had to go a long way to get water. Because those experiences, and I believe we have social service on the line, we have DOTI on the line, we have economic development on the line, and we have the housing issue, the housing program on the line. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor back over to Honorable Sosi, and you can defer to your other agents that are on the line. Mr. Sosi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the committee. I think the other people that are on the phone line could provide better answers. But in terms of the housing, Dr. Yellowman, I think we can respond to that. On the propane, Mr. Rossetti is on the line. He will be the person to express with respect to the propane winter relief assistance. On economic development, I'm not aware of money in here or funding in here for economic development. They've already received assistance for the vendors and artisans. And so the only one that's close to it is the Navajo Nation Shopping Center, the 4 million. And so there is Ms. Yazzie on the line if you wish her to talk about it. In terms of the accountability on the expenditures, I think the president really would like to sit down with the council to talk about this and the need to move forward. As you know, we have laws on the books, and the president and the executive branch has to work with that. But if the council and the president are able to enact new laws and send something through to expend these monies, maybe that might work. Otherwise, we have to use the current paradigm, the current way of doing things, and that takes a while. So with that, I think housing is the big thing, and maybe Mr. Chair, and we could maybe start off with Dr. Yalaman. I believe she's on the line, and then, like I said, Mr. Rossetti is on the line for the propane. So maybe we could start off with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, add on.
Dr. or Chris Vicente, go ahead.
I just wanted to add on to what Mr. Sosa said. Once we hear back from each of the division directors and the presentation, we can come back to Mr. Sosa and I to address some of the questions and some of the questions related to the accountability of the divisions and programs in administering the CARES fund to make sure they're expended. And we can also give a very brief update on what's been so far on the previously passed legislation. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Chanela Pearl, you have the floor.
Yeah. Good afternoon, honorable members of Law and Order Committee. We have honorable delegates on the line as well, and our sponsors. Just speaking to the housing, the way we incorporated or have prepped for the expenditure plan for the housing is we utilize the Housing Improvement Plan, Housing Improvement Program application process from 2017 to 2019. Those applicants have been vetted previously by the CHID program, and those applications have met the requirements or the eligibility for families who have a home site lease or who have the infrastructure to receive housing. So that's one of the main application process. The staff have been vetting those applications to work towards consent and to ensure that they are still updated on that application list. Also, in the legislation, in the proposed legislation, there will be in addition, or within the 25 million, there will be an allocation of 5 million to Navajo Hopi land area, and working with Mr. Robert Black. Because of the limited time, or because of the time restrictions, we have vetted or we have explored two avenues for expenditure. One is the purchase of homes, and if you recall, that was a discussion also by other delegates mentioned under 144-20 that other tribes had purchased. Some of our neighbors on the Western Agency side, the Paiute tribes had purchased mobile homes. So CHID has been looking and securing, and then has been in communication with those with possible vendors to meet the need of mobile homes. There's also discussion with Mr. Jim Zorline in the manufacturing as well. There's the 2-bedroom floor plans that have been made available, but we're still working on securing the possibility of the 2-bedroom. But the cost for $20 million to move forward and meet the demands of 150 homes, we can meet that schedule. We're working diligently to ensure that we have the proper communications in line to meet those. Also, the different delegates have been submitting and sending us homes that are dilapidated, and these are families that are in need. We have been taking in those emails and requests, and we've been documenting them under a CARES Act application. So that one, for documentation purposes, but also to ensure that there's a possibility to review those applicants and to acknowledge the emails that have been sent by leadership. So those are the two. Those are the ways that we are moving forward on the listing. Mr. Black also is very similar. Robert Black, very similar for the Navajope land area. We're also going off on the prices that CHID has been working on or has been monitoring, and those prices are around 130 to 100, around 130,000 for a 2-bedroom. We're trying to stay within and meet the needs of the applicants within that price line, and then trying to meet the timeline area as well. So Chairman, that is Vice Chair. That is quick report on the housing for the CHID and the proposed $25 million. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Honorable Madam Division Director for Community Development. Our model for the propane delivery.
Mr. Chair,
Hello,
just
good
let
afternoon.
I think the better person
good
for
afternoon.
propane is Mr. Rosetta.
Mr. Rosetta, I'm sorry, yes. Mr. Rosetta, are you on the line?
Yes, sir, I am. Good afternoon, honorable delegates. My name is Aaron Rosetta. I am the owner and general manager over here at Nations Gas Technologies. We're a propane and natural gas company. We've been here for, we're out located in Red Lake, Navajo, New Mexico area. We've been here for 23 years now, and we provide propane and natural gas services to the Four Corners area. Included in our proposal with the president, with the CARES Act budget, is let me pull that up here real quick, is a list of about 10 items. It's probably attached there with some of the legislation, a list of 10 items that we're proposing to be able to provide to the Navajo Nation. We are able to service all of the Navajo Nation. We're located somewhat centrally, and we can service all the way out to, we do work in Alamo, To'Hajiilee, and all the way up to Montezuma Creek area, out to Tuba City and down to Rama, Pine Hill area. So we can service the entire area. Number one item we're looking at providing services for with the funding would be to ensure that these hospitals and these areas where they're giving out a lot of donations, hospitals, warehouses, chapter houses, we need to be able to make sure that those people that are the volunteers and the community members coming in for services, for relief, for COVID relief, we need to make sure that their facilities are safe. There's a lot of propane and natural gas systems out there in these locations, chapter houses, hospitals, that we want to make sure we do we do testing services. It is a requirement per the Code of Federal Regulations and state regulations that we test gas systems annually to make sure there's no underground gas leaks or building gas leaks. So that's the first item we're looking at doing, is identifying those areas where there will be people gathered, the hospitals or chapter houses or other areas. We'll provide testing of all those facilities and provide documentation, and we'll be on call for those services. The second item we're looking at is propane bottle fills and delivery. I think somebody there mentioned that vouchers to the gas stations where they get delivery to the bottle fills at the gas stations. We can do that as well. We didn't put that in here, but being that we're a private corporation, we can make that change to also provide vouchers, and we can keep those tanks full at those gas stations. But what we're looking at in our item 2 is propane bottle fills and delivery. We've already started that service. The customer will call us, and we can deliver these 20-pound, 30-pound, 40-pound, and 100-pound bottles to the customer's home, and we can hook them up for the customer. That way the customer isn't trying to unload heavy tanks or trying to deal with the propane gas system right now. It keeps the customers at home, and it prevents a lot of it helps assist in quarantine, especially for a lot of the elderly. So our item 2 there is propane bottle delivery, so that way they don't have to come into town for those deliveries or bottle fills. The third item that we want to do to help the community members who might not be involved in some of these free services is we're gonna lock in our rates. What we want to do is we want to use a portion of these funding right now to lock in propane prices now before it gets really cold in the winter. That way we can provide the customers of the Navajo Nation with propane fuel at lower cost than summer pricing. Propane prices go up in the winter because everybody's pulling propane, but if we can buy a large quantity, I indicated between about 250,000 gallons, and sometimes we can go up to 500,000 gallons. We can pre-buy a lot of this propane and lock in summer pricing. That way we don't have to increase prices during the winter, and that'll help a lot of folks who are with economic relief, who are having problems with paychecks right now. Other item is, and that goes into our item 4, is when we pre-buy, we can provide propane fuel discounts to our customers. We're looking at 30 to 75% discount depending on when we can lock in these prices. Item 5 out of 10, item number 5 out of 10 total is delivery to communities. Some folks, depending on how we want to work out this, we work with a lot of the LAHEAP funding, the Low Income Energy Assistance, and we work with a lot of chapter and NHA programs, where we can help to identify community members who are in need of funding, and we can provide those propane delivery to those communities, and also to the hospitals and the schools. Our item number 5 is propane delivery to communities that's residential and commercial communities. So some of these hospitals or some of these testing centers or temporary tents doing intake of folks who are getting tested for COVID, they'll have temporary tanks, or some of the hospitals will have large tanks, or maybe some of the correction facilities. We can provide propane to those locations under this funding as well. Another item we're looking at, item 6, is temporary heating equipment. There's going to be a lot of command centers. There's going to be a lot of tents and security stations. A lot of folks are going to be outside bringing in people for testing command centers. We can set up temporary heating. We can set up temporary heating and temporary tanks. We can help with a lot of those items there. We'll be on call. We will have somebody on call for a lot of these needs because they'll probably be working 24 hours a day at the command centers. The next item is kind of goes along with item number 7, kind of goes along with internet or water services or some of those other services. There's a lot of folks out there that want to quarantine, but they don't have gas at their homes. We can do some funding to provide gas lines to their homes with a propane tank. We can work with some of those folks to get who don't have those basic necessities. We can work with them on those. We're going along with the gas stations. Our item number 8 is to put bottle cages at participating gas stations. Not all gas stations and shopping centers have bottle fill stations where they can fill up their 20-pounders. There's a lot of towns out there with small shopping centers, small gas stations. We can put up those bottle cages like they have at Home Depot or like they have at some of the shopping centers. They say Blue Rhino. We can put one up there with Nations Gas, and there'll be bottle cages that will keep them full with 20-pound bottles. And we'll work with the store so that when people come in, they can pull from these cages. They don't need to go far for their propane bottles.
Delegate James,
9.
Question of privilege.
Chanales Auto. I believe my question has not been answered in regards to the native solar. And then this same question goes to propane as well. Your contract, do you currently have a contract with Navajo Nation? When did it start and when will it end? Is my question. Thank you.
Mr. Rosetta, the contract, and the question to Mr. Honorable James. And then the other to the solar energy. I believe that's the same question, correct? James? Mr. Honorable James? Okay.
Another.
Let's get to Mr. Rosetta first. Mr. Rosetta, can you answer that?
Okay. Yeah. We don't have a general contract. We don't have a general contract with the Navajo Nation, but we work with the child care centers. We work with some of the shopping centers individually. So we don't have a large contract for all the propane of the nation. We're more of a private business, and we're kind of as needed, small contracts to keep some of the schools filled. We work with some of the BIA schools and the child care centers and some of the shopping centers, but we don't have one contract with the nation. And those contracts that we have, they get renegotiated depending on the contract every 6 months, or they're usually about six to 8 months, sometimes a year, but not often. So we don't have one large contract.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rosetta. The solar, Ms. Willia, do you have a current contract with the Navajo Nation? According the question of Honorable James.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So, and to answer the question of Delegate Vince James, no, we don't have a contract with the Navajo Nation.
Thank you very much, Willia, for that, for answering that. Question, I believe that probably sums it up. The economic development that I had was related to the. Can you guys please mute your phone?
No, just cover your hair.
I know what they're pretty good at doing that. And
Honorable Yellow Hair, what's your mute your phone?
Sorry.
Let me see if I can mute it. Hold on.
Delegate So, Eugene here.
Hold on, Mr. So. Hold on, Mr. So. I'm trying to identify this person that's talking on the phone here. And speaker staff, can you guys assist me on that? See if you guys could catch those people that just kick them off if they're not muting their phone. I believe that's probably the best route to do. That way, when they call in, we know who didn't mute their phone. Mr. Eugene So.
Delegate So, we want to go over there and have some lunch over there. How about these guys?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. So. All righty
Question,
then.
Delegate
I
James.
believe there's no more questions.
Comment,
but Mr.
Delegate James.
Mr. James, go ahead.
I do believe that you probably need to mute those phones from the individual so we can proceed in a professional fashion way. I just wanted to make it known that we need to understand the difference between work session and then our legislation, the legislations that are before us. I think we need to really start asking questions if we're going to be orientated by presenters if they have a contract with the nation, because the policy does state that if we're going to be utilizing them, the contract should be established, a memorandum of agreement, a memorandum of understanding that should all be in place, and it makes it so complicated and difficult for us to move forward because we only have one particular Navajo preference business owned companies presenting to us. We don't want to get the other Navajo preference business owners that are doing the exact similar businesses to come forward to us addressing issues. So I think as delegates, we need to be careful on how we hear out some of these presenters that are brought before us, if there's contract or if there's no contract. So just wanted to make that known, but with all due respect, I want to make that notice, and then to the presenters, I did not mean to interrupt your presentation or so, but sometimes, policies are policies, and we need to follow that when it comes down to it. So I know you guys are doing tremendous work out there for the Navajo people, and I continue to ask you to provide that kind of service as a Navajo business on the Navajo reservation. Okay, don't stop, and I hope it wasn't offensive to you guys for me to ask you guys questions in regards to the contract or to interrupt you during your presentation. If so, I apologize to you, but continue to provide that service to our Navajo people. And thank you for operating your business on the Navajo reservation. Thank you very much, and I think we're ready to vote because I don't think we'll ever get that muted, so that noise muted. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, James. And yes, that's what I was going to do, move to the vote. But phone number 928-245-6570. Mute your phone. I'm not really sure whose number is that, but that's where the crackling is coming from. And then there's I believe there's no more questions after this at the moment. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and call for the question, committee members, and going to go ahead and turn it over to Sherelle. Go ahead and proceed with the roll call vote.
Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, how do you vote? Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, how do you vote? Hello. Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene Still, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene Still votes green. Honorable Edwin Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, how do you vote?
Charles Newton votes green.
Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton votes green. Vice Chair, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and 2 not voting.
Okay, thank you very much. Motion carries, and 3 in favor, 0 opposed, and the chair not voting. And the legislation will move forward to the next standing committee that's in place. That will be, hold on. hold on, before I, that will go to Resources and Development Committee meeting. Thank you very much, committee member, for your work and questions related to this particular legislation, and honorable members of the Navajo Nation Council being on the call relating to this particular legislation, and it does affect families across the Navajo Nation, and I believe what Honorable Vince James has inquired and alluded to is a sort of work session, maybe to be presented before we get to NABI, to the Navajo Nation Council, so that each of the particular proposals in these exhibits will be thoroughly processed and entertained to the Navajo Nation Council. We know that the CARES Act says that the three branch chiefs will make the recommendation to the Navajo Nation Council, but when it gets to the council, it's the council's legislation. And I believe all these little questions that, like Honorable Yellowhair had, Honorable Walker, Honorable Crotty, and other delegates on the line had valid questions related to this legislation, and to get a full expand and thought related to this legislation is something that is very, very, very instrumental, and that way each member of the Navajo Nation Council can make his or her amendment or base his or her vote based off of what had been presented to the Navajo Nation Council. But again, these particular proposals were presented to the three branch chiefs, not to the body. And but for me, I've been to three branch chiefs meeting from the last president into this president. The last president, as the three branch chiefs meeting had occurred, the Navajo Nation Council was fully welcome, and the council's input was really considered. But under what I noticed is that it's just among the three branch chiefs and the leadership, us delegates that represent each region, Oyo were not heard. This is something that I recognize. I see the difference from the last administration to this administration, and if the council is really welcome to these three branch chiefs meeting and their questions very answered, I think we wouldn't have these questions at the committee level. But that's the main thing of communication. That's what we speak to. So with that, like I said, this legislation carries, and thank you, Honorable K. Allen Begay, for your for bringing this piece of legislation to the body, and with your presenters, Honorable Leonard Sosi and Mr. Christopher Bahi, for being the agents to this particular legislation. And I really, really hope that you take message back to the president related to things that we recognize from the Navajo Nation Council, because these are what the Navajo, our constituents, ask. And a lot of us say that we did our work, and basically and that goes to the accountability. And I really hope that it doesn't just end here, or the president don't get our message. But you guys work for the president, and we really hope that you take that message back to him and have him provide an answer to the body of the Navajo Nation Council. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, and with this legislation 0212-20 relating to Honorable Eugene So's legislation. Noreen, can you read that legislation into the record?
Okay, tracking number 0210-20, an act relating to Health, Education, and Human Services, Law and Order, Nabakia and Nomination Council, amending Title 17 Law and Order Code by enacting as an offense Section 378, violation of emergency order or action. This will move forward to Nabakia and Nomination Council and has gone through the 5-day comment process. And there are one comment that is supporting and one opposing, and those documents are attached to the legislation. And this has gone through the House Education and Human Services, and it was passed at Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you very much for reading the legislation into the record. And with that, I'm going to go call for a motion. Well, first, before I call for a motion, is Honorable Eugene So on the line? Hagoshila, we have Honorable Eugene So on the line. With that, I'm going to go ahead and call for a motion.
Motion by Charles Newton.
Motion by Madam Chair. And I'm going to call for a second. Calling for a second in motion. Honorable Eugene So, you can second your own legislation.
Second.
Second by Honorable Vince James. Agoshila, Mr. Eugene So, you have, you know, the committee guide rules, and we can go, you have the floor to make your presentation. You have the floor, Honorable Eugene So.
No.
No.
Committee members and the members on the people on the line, can you mute your phone, please? Ashore. Mr. So, you can proceed.
You got more education than my eighth grade education, so I think you understood what this is all about. If we have health education, just I think that is hard. But the main thing is, I think, was not understood, and also it was immaturely questioned. What it's saying is where life is at stake, order not from the health and also the president or even the speaker of the whole nation. It are elected or to obey it. And it's not, there was no citation on it. Even now, from the reports, even now, prosecutor to prosecute somebody on a certain citation, and that's not within the code. It's kind of hard for a prosecutor to prosecute somebody. That's how I figured my layman's term understanding with my thinker. So, even Margot could it add a biada, so have been very caged, it has done it all needs, it needs, I need effort for our protection for the people. Never could need feed about who Yamigi for the people. It are the best eat all the so quick. I don't see the cannot be such a. I don't in a way that she passes in this actual order. No, I don't care harder. I saw 148 cars pass me. Fortunately, that stuff. When I saw where I live. Yeah, the lesson last. I don't think she is different. So that, I think they cut short also. I don't know about that. So these are some of the issues that we have in regard to the people out there. I saw that, but it don't need to be the crazy. I see now it's in the connect on the start, 8,000 grades or the start. Executive order, I saw that. I saw that whole in on the road. The trail nothing, not the credit out of the credit on the she had no the executive order had the credit law in the citation rate of so a the national year for not trade only. So any benefit. So the agency, council benefits and the central site, I believe and I hopefully my backup is there. Jennifer, she's on his latest for the corner. Jennifer, you're there.
I'm here,
Help
sir.
me out.
I'm here, sir.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Do the honors. Bye.
All right.
You have the floor, Jennifer.
Yad A. This is Jennifer Henry, the acting chief prosecutor. Been hanging with you guys all morning. So I just wanted to supplement what Delegate So said. You know, as I've reported to you before, when the police department initially started to try to enforce the public health emergency orders, and also not just those, but also the legislation that council passed closing the Navajo owned and maintained roads to tourists and visitors. When they started enforcing these, is really when we as prosecutors realized what a problem it was, and it didn't become apparent immediately. So as you know, the public health emergency orders have within them language about, you know, the spread of the virus, that this is very dangerous, and that violating the curfew, for instance, creates a public safety or a health hazard, and it's a dangerous thing. So there is no criminal violation that we could use, except that we started using criminal nuisance, because criminal nuisance is when someone creates or maintains a condition that endangers the health and welfare of others. So we've been filing these citations in that way. So to be honest with you, we don't really know how it's working because, again, as I've reported to you, we're getting these return dates on these citations that are for 2021. So we've been filing them, but I cannot, with any kind of accuracy, tell you how they're going to go. So in the meantime, and we're still doing that, in the meantime, Delegate So approached me, and we agreed that COVID is with us for some time. We think that, you know, curfews and the things we can do and cannot do because of the public health emergency, we think that those are going to be long-term in one way or another. So we started talking about whether council can give us prosecutors a new tool, and what that tool would look like for long-term combat of COVID when the council or the president or the Department of Health or the Chief Justice tells us we can or can't do something as community members. So we sort of dreamed up this legislation, and what it is a new criminal offense. And we weren't just thinking, you know, initially we were thinking, let's put this through as emergency, because boy, a few months ago it sure seemed like an emergency. And we kind of downgraded it, and we agreed that if we're going to make a long-term tool, we wanted your guys' help and the committee's help in making this the best that it could be. So you have it before you, and I just wanted to point out really two things that I kind of think we need your help with. And as Delegate So said, I think I heard when this was being read into the legislation that it passed Hess. I have to clarify, it fell miserably at Hess 4-0 against this legislation. There were a lot of questions about it, and we can certainly, you know, I think Delegate So and I can speak to those, but it definitely did not pass Hess. So there's some opposition to this. But I just wanted to point out two things. So this would be a criminal offense called violation of an emergency order or action. You know, I chose those words really carefully because I wanted, in paragraph B and C, it's an attempting to explain what an emergency order or action is. So I try to think of what those things could be, and it's like any order which mandates or prohibits, right? It requires or it prohibits certain activities by individuals, which is either issued by the DOH, Commission on Emergency Management, the President, or the Chief Justice during a state of emergency. So it's limited to that. And then the next paragraph talks about an action, and I was thinking of those actions taken by Navajo Nation Council or President during a state of emergency. And what I was thinking of then was that road closure legislation, because while council did close the roads, there is no penalty for it. There's none whatsoever. So I was attempting to make it so that those kinds of civil legislation that are being passed had some consequence that they currently don't have. So the first part, I think, is definitely subject to making that section potentially better. One of the real oppositions at Hess was something I sort of have to tell you I share, which is, well, we think this is too broad because it's basically criminalizing anything that the president just decides to do or the council just decides to do. And I think that it's fair to say that there's some distrust between the branches right now. And so I understand that opposition. It is a very broad definition of action or order. So I'm definitely open to refining that. We just need to make sure it's in a way that makes sense. The second place I would point you to for where I think Delegate So and I are open for help is the sentencing provision. So the way that we wrote it is we tried to make it, this mandatory sentencing, because right now we're seeing criminal nuisance is anywhere from $0 to $1,000 and up to 30 days in jail, and it's completely at the discretion of the judge, and that's proving to be a little bit challenging. We have one person serving 30 days in jail in Chinle for a curfew violation, and the other couple that have gone through have been like 0 fine, don't do it again. So we talked about, you'll see in the draft, it's the first time you're found guilty of this offense, you shall be ordered to pay $500. That seems steep on one hand, and let me tell you more about that in a minute. If you're found a second offense during the same emergency, right? You've been caught once and you did it again, then there's a mandatory $1,000 fine. A third or subsequent offense would be $1,000 fine and a 30-day jail sentence. We said later on that the court should not simply convert those fines to community service, which it regularly does with all fines, unless it really does find that the person is unable to pay. So the attempt there is to make some real financial consequences, but also never to impose a fine that someone can really, truly not pay, at which case they could convert all or part of it to community service. And then we wanted to make sure that we've had lots of stores and entities who just refuse to comply with our public health emergency orders at all. So we added a provision that if it's a corporation or a partnership or some sort of government entity or a business, that they would be subject to suspension or cancellation of their business registration. So, and my last sort of statement, and then I stand for questions, is that, on one hand, this seems really steep to me. And Delegate So said something that in a lot of ways has really changed my view of criminal law, and I think that Delegate Charles Newton has echoed something similar in previous conversations, which is, when you think about Tenebret de Hazani, the way that Navajos used to live traditionally, it was very strict. And now we're seemingly moving away from the strictness of what one should and should not do. So when you're told by your Atafli, your medicine man, to do something or to not do something, following a ceremony or preceding a ceremony, there's no question you follow that. And as we move away from that, our courts and our criminal system are getting to the point where it's like, oh, you did that, you endangered potentially lives of human beings, but it's okay, don't worry about it. That was before, and you said you were sorry, so don't do it again. So as Delegate So was kind of trying to explain to me the sentencing scheme for this, I did write it to be pretty harsh, I have to say, but we are definitely open to what kind of tiered sentencing scenario there should be here. So with that, I stand for questions with Delegate So.
Thank you very much, Jen, for your presentation. And Honorable Eugene So, does this complete your presentation? Honorable Eugene So.
Có cha ô khá là bị das is no ye eben ya ha schon das so no so part of the doctor as that
Agoshina, thank you very much, Honorable Eugene So, for your presentation, and thank you, Jen, for your presentation and as an agent for Honorable Eugene So. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the floor. Committee members, do you have any questions to Honorable Eugene So at this time pertaining to legislation 0210-20? Once, twice, 3 times. Right, we have a motion in place. We have a second in place. With that, we'll call for the question. Sherelle, can you go ahead and proceed to the vote?
Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, how do you vote? Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes green.
Honorable Vince James votes green. Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
I vote green, thank you.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, how do you vote? Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, how do you vote? Chair, you have 2 in favor, 0 opposed, 3 not voting.
Thank you very much. Motion carries, 2 in favor, 0 opposed.
Delegate James, Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton just texted us all saying she's voting green.
Let me look at my phone here. Make the record reflect that Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton votes green on this legislation. So change the outcome to 3 in favor, 2 opposed. I have my phone upside down on mute or not mute, quiet, and I'm on the internet and the interweb, and actually Mr. Thomas Walker wanted to speak in that lesson, and I'm sorry for overlooking. You have my phone upside down, but we'll probably have when it moves on to the next committee, we'll have more questions there at Nabi. So a motion carries, 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. This legislation it passes, and with that, we're going to go ahead and go on to the next item on the agenda, and that is, let me pull up this jumping before. Okay, well, number 8, close the meeting. Announcements. Committee members, do you have any announcements? Gonna go once, twice, 3 times. I'm gonna take that as no announcement, none. Go Sheila, with that.
Did you guys get my vote?
Honorable Chair, yes, we got your vote. We got
Thank
your
you,
vote.
Vice Chair. I apologize. At that moment, I was presenting to Budget and Finance for the Office of Public Defender. So I apologize. I wasn't able to get on the phone right away, but I did text you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. You're okay. You're excused. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, adjournment.
Chair.
Motion for or Honorable Eugene So.
Shit, this kasi national this very full council. The share.
All righty then. With that, I'm going to ask for an adjournment.
Motion to
Motion,
adjourn.
Eugene So.
Charles Newton.
Motion by Junior Charles Newton, and I'm going to take the second as from Eugene So. With that, Sherelle, can you go ahead and proceed with roll call vote?
Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, how do you vote?
Charles Newton votes green.
Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton votes green. Honorable Vince James, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote? Honorable Eugene So, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Eugene So votes green. Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Edmund Yazzie, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James, how do you vote? Honorable Vince James votes green. Vice Chair, you have 3 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 not voting.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. Adjourning of the meeting of this Special Law and Order Committee meeting at 1:26 p.m. Thank you very much, committee members, and for your work, and presenters and people on the line. Thank you, and honorable delegates. Thank you for being on the line during this discussion. Yeah. Be safe out there, and take care.
Thank you, Vice Chair, for chairing the meeting. Lorraine, make sure that Vice Chair the chairs.
Legislative Counsel's Office.